Good afternoon. My name is Mark Smith. I'm the chairperson of the Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities for Omaha, Nebraska. This is our monthly meeting, and we have some things to talk with you about. First and foremost, we want to welcome you. One of the things that has come up is that historically we've rebroadcast these sessions on Channel 18 of Cox, and what was for CenturyLink? 69. Channel 69 on CenturyLink. Apparently there's been a mix-up there, but all of our past presentations have been archived on the mayor's website. You can go to the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities on the mayor's website, and also the YouTube channel, and we will try to post those links up on the screen during the meeting today. And then hopefully at the point in time when we can get our things worked out on our TV rebroadcasts, they'll be on Tuesday nights on Channel 18, Cox, and 69 CenturyLink. I want to remind you a little bit about the Mayor's Commission. We're here to promote quality of life, accessibility, and equity in all aspects related to the City of Omaha on behalf of and in cooperation with the citizens of Omaha who experience disabilities. To this end, the Commission will advise the Mayor, the City Council, department heads, and other personnel on issues of access, representation, employment, housing, and issues just generally related to quality of life that affect Omaha citizens with disabilities and their respective families. We also try to serve as a resource for Omaha citizens with disabilities and their families who might have concerns or issues, and to help them resolve those issues. We try and publicize to the citizens of the city the role of the Mayor's Commission and the resources available to assist them, and that's part of our broadcast. We try to promote awareness on the capabilities, needs, and desires of citizens with disabilities to the general public. We try to recognize the efforts of employers, businesses, schools, and others who have demonstrated outstanding support and services of disabled citizens. We try to advocate for accessibility and other issues and implement plans to improve those. We've done a number of projects over the years and continue to work in that manner. And then finally, we assist in reviewing and implementing plans and projects for advocacy for citizens with disabilities. So that's a little bit about the Commission. We'll have a chance for announcements to be made at the end of the meeting, so please have a pen and paper handy to take notes. We had a pre-meeting. We did have a quorum. We also have a new member, Jennifer Pollock of Millard Public Schools, who couldn't be with us today, but will be in the future. Let's see. We did not, we don't have minutes for our past meeting, but those are because those are still in the process of being typed up, so we did not approve those this time, but will in a subsequent meeting. Let's see. Before we get started, I'd like to take a minute and have each of the members introduce themselves. So maybe starting to my right.
Hi, my name's Ed Armstrong, and I work for QLI, and I represent adults with brain and spinal cord injuries.
Thanks, Ed.
Hi, I'm Natalie Simmons. I am founder and senior writer at Dotted Eye Writing Services, and I'm the secretary of the commission.
And I'm Nancy Floral, and I work with the Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and I represent visually impaired, blind, and deafblind.
I'm Reverend Lisa Sherman. I'm the pastor of Faith Christian Church. I also serve on the emergency management system for the state of Nebraska, and I represent a large variety of disabilities.
And again, I'm Mark Smith. I work at the Monroe Meyer Institute at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, which is a training site for future professionals working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I'm also a parent and sibling to family members with intellectual disabilities, and so I not only work the work, I walk the walk, so for what it's worth. Okay, I think that's all of our introductory business. We will try and give members a chance to announce any activities that they have going on in their respective areas of interest and businesses at the end, but we'll see how that goes. So at this point, I want to introduce our presenter for today, Bill A. Gartner. How did I do there, Bill? Excellent. Outstanding. Bill is the Executive Director of Prime Home, which is a developmental disability services provider, and he's going to talk a little bit about the services that they provide, and I think a little bit about the service system for intellectual and developmental disabilities generally, but I don't want to speak too much on your behalf, Bill, so I'll turn it over to you.
I'll do my best. Thank you, Mark. Again, my name is Bill A. Gardner. I'm the Executive Director with Prime Home and Milestones Disability Services. We are an organization, we're a community-based service provider in the Omaha Metro, but we do reach currently to Blair all the way down through Plattsmouth. We surround the metro area. Primarily, we started our organization as extended family homes. For those that are not familiar with the extended family home model, I guess that I would best equate that to foster care for individuals with disabilities, living in a single-family home, trying to offer that consistent approach and working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Just a little bit about our organization. Prime Home has been in existence since 2008, been a service provider for individuals. About 3 years ago, we were serving approximately 35 individuals in the community in extended family home situations. Born out of necessity, when I joined the organization about 3.5 years ago, we noted there was quite a deficit for day service provisions for people based on the new model, and we'll get to that a little bit later in terms of service definitions. With the federal guidelines changing, CMS final rule settings, and providers have to get in compliance along with the state of Nebraska. I'm sure I don't need to tell this group that. But our service model is, for our day services in particular, is community inclusion, community integration. What that is, really, to boil it down, it's meaningful experiences for individuals with disabilities, connecting them to the community, to the resources, meaningful activities, and ways to get out there and connect with people. That's really our service model. We don't delve into the employment services. While we have some experience with that, and we have a couple of folks that partake in that service, not really our focus of our model. There's folks out there that do a really solid job with the employment piece, but our focus has really been the community inclusion aspect of what we're doing. And I said our day services were born out of necessity. We started our day services with 2 individuals. They were in our extended family home situations, and my job was to come in and really see where we could do something maybe a little bit different. I'll just fast forward. Within the past 3 years, we have since added 3 day service locations. We have a location in Papillion, Sarpy County, La Vista, our Milestones location. We have the Opportunities Program, which I'll break these down a little bit more for you as to what they are. The Opportunities Program, and then we also have contracts with local school districts, with OPS, Millard, Papillion, Bellevue, Plattsmouth, just as examples for some of the students that we serve as well. So we really do serve. I think right now our youngest person in services is age 4, and I believe our eldest person in services at this point is 63. So we really run the gamut for working with individuals because we want to be that provider that can really be the one-stop shop for folks and be able to provide, again, something different. Our organization and program is really founded on 3 very basic principles. For us, we labeled our Milestones program, which is our day services. A milestone it's a change in development. It's a goal. It's an achievement. It seemed very fitting for what we do. So with our 3 basic principles, we want to give people a place to belong. That's first and foremost. Do they have a place to belong? Do they feel safe? Can they grow? Second principle is to achieve. Each person achieves differently, whatever that may be, from the most severe disability, someone who requires total cares, total needs, to someone who may present as very high functioning out in the community. You know, what is an achievement for them? We've had some very interesting challenges throughout the course of this year with some of the population that we serve, and some great success stories that I'm learning throughout the course of the year when I talk to folks out in the field to see how things are really going and how we're progressing. And the last core principle is excel. You know, belong, achieve, and excel. If we follow that philosophy and that mentality, I think that we're doing what we need to be doing in terms of working with people. At any point in time, anybody has any questions for the stuff that I'm saying, please stop me. Please don't hesitate.
This is not a shy group. No worries about that,
Excellent.
Bill. Thank you.
Excellent. I do much better with that. I had little time to prepare, so just wanted to make sure that we have a lot of time for Q&A.
Very good.
So our services, as I mentioned, residential services, we have day services, education services for school. We have certified special education teachers. We really customize. We have some very challenging individuals that we work with in our school settings that may not have been deemed to be successful in a classroom type setting. It just depends on the individual and if we are the right setting. We won't just take anybody. It has to work, and the IEP has to be customized for our staff to be able to work under the guidance of our special education teachers. We also have a summer camp program. I said we were born out of necessity because we had extended family homes. We were serving a lot of children about 3 years ago through CFS, Children and Family Services. Children through extended family home, there's not much happening when the school year is not going. What do we do with these kids? We have to get them active, keep them engaged, keep a routine. So we decided that a summer camp program would really meet the needs of the individuals that we were serving. That started serving 8 individuals, 8 children in our programs. To date, we're in our 3rd year of our summer camp program, and we're serving 35 individuals. So I think we're seeing some success there. We're making an impact and keeping people engaged. And it really does support that extended family home model because, quite frankly, to 24/7 situation, folks need a break. Our individuals need a break. They need to be out of the home. They need to be engaged and need to be doing activities. So the summer camp program is exactly what you think it would be. It's, are we getting out? Are we recreational activities, fishing, arts, crafts, zoo, you name it, we're doing it. We're all over town. You'll see our vans. We have a fleet of 12 vehicles that are running the roads, keeping people busy in the community. And one last component that we more recently added within the past 6 months is behavioral health. We have seen quite a deficit for individuals with intellectual disabilities primarily, and the lack of therapists and counselors out there that really understand how to work with our population. So we're already providing the residential service. We have the day service. Let's get the experts that can work with our folks and support them in these placements, whether it be in the home, whether it be in the day program, or just to be that outlet. So adding behavioral health element has really helped us really launch into offering that full wraparound approach to the services that we provide our people. So that's what we want to do. When I say that we serve the individuals from, I have, again, 4 to 63, how can we really embody and mold the services around them? We don't want to be the provider that does the round peg in the square hole concept. All right, let's really build the program around the individuals, and that's how we do things. So just to give you a snapshot of the numbers of individuals that we're working with in the community, and primarily a lot of our placements are in Douglas County for our extended family homes. We have 103 individuals in extended family home settings throughout the metro. I would say 60% of those are in Douglas County. With our day services, our reach right now, we are serving around 112 individuals in day service programming. This is 3 years later. We've seen growth, but it needs to be the growth for the right reasons. And are we doing it well? Again, born out of necessity. We're not just going around opening locations. It's because there's needs out there, and that's what we've seen systemically, because that's where the services are headed. It's really about the community integration type service, given the definition that we have been given. The state of Nebraska is doing a very good job of working their heads around how to provide this service. We want to be in support of that. We want to get ahead of the curve and really figure out the best way to provide that care. So I gave kind of the overview, just to give you a snapshot of the types of disabilities that we're working with. Our Milestones program, we have 2 components of the Milestones program, and we just love to throw names around there and acronyms because that's just what we do. We have the abilities program because we don't focus on the disability. We want to focus on the person's ability. That's more of our severe and profound cases that require the more hand-over-hand supports, total cares, total needs. That happens at our abilities program in Papillion. I have what's called the Connections program, which is another division of Milestones. Based on the naming of that program and the design, it's really to get those folks. They're going to be in your moderate level, cognitive ability, functioning level. We're really focusing on the social skills, getting people out in the community, finding different ways for having them engage, whether it be through volunteer work, whether it be through community outings. You know, we have partnerships with assisted living facilities. We're working in the recreation departments. We have partnerships with a couple of local farms. We just recently launched what we're calling the Green Thumb Project at this particular location, which is a community garden. We want to integrate folks from the community to come in and work with our folks and just be engaged. And it's not about learning to be the best farmer. It's about learning to utilize those skills and networking with people and connecting with people. So we really felt that was a great avenue for us to explore, which we've also been offered other opportunities to work with other community gardens. So it's not just happening at our location, but we're getting folks out and working in other locations. Yes, they learn how to source, grow, all those different skills, but the other skills that we're working on is can you follow the direction? Can you be, what's that level of independence, and how can we foster that? That's really the focus of that program. Then we have our Opportunities program. That was basically a situation where we work with individuals that are labeled very challenging, behavioral issues, coming out of regional centers, individuals that are, you know, we're said that they really can't be in the community. Well, they can, because we've shown that we've had some really solid success with that program. More recently, we're working with folks, getting them out of BSDC, getting them out of Lincoln Regional Center, and immersing them in the community. It's not easy. Nobody ever said it was going to be easy. But if we have the right staffing levels and you have consistency, which we feel our model really works well for, people have success. They can achieve those milestones. So we're really working with the severe and profound situations, the more moderate, out there in the community interacting, to the very challenged individuals that are deemed maybe they can't connect with people. Well, we still utilize the same model in getting them out in the community and connecting with people, whether it be a humane society, whether it be one of the local farms, whether it be the assisted living facilities. We get these folks engaged, and that's really what it's all about for us. And then I already mentioned the school program. So that's really the concept of what we offer in addition to the extended family homes. I've said a mouthful. What questions can I answer?
I have a question. Can you talk a little bit more about the model that you use in terms of how you build supports around people that have co-occurring diagnoses, you know, behavioral health and intellectual or developmental disability?
So in terms of model, we have on staff independent licensed mental health professional that we utilize internally. She has years of experience with this particular population, with the ID/DD community. But it's really about, it's skill building, right? It's repetition. It's focusing on that, and it's supporting and understanding how to support. You can't have the one-on-one session where it's focused really on the cognitive therapy. It's about supporting the situation, skill building, supporting behaviors, and just knowing the people and triggers. In addition to that, she'll lead weekly sessions, clinical staffing for our direct care staff. It's not just about the clinical staff, but it's the direct care staff. It's for the extended family homes, getting them involved. It's great if you have therapy, one-on-one situation, but if you're not applying it in these other settings where they're spending all of their time, it's all for none, because we have to understand we approach it the same way, and the consistency. So it's really about the consistency and involving the rest of the team members in the programming aspect as to what they're doing. From a clinical aspect, we're formulating our rehabilitation programs from this with our behavioral support programs.
I understand. So about how many folks is she working with, your specialist? How many folks do you have that you're working with right now that she's kind of overseeing the work?
That's a great question, actually, because it is in its infancy stages. We're going very slowly with that. We want to make sure we do it correctly. We're contracting additional therapists. We're working on that currently. We just hired an additional therapist to assist Brandy, our clinical person. I used a name like you knew who I was talking about, to assist our clinical director with what we're doing. So, but it's really Right now, to answer your question, we're serving 10 individuals in a behavioral health capacity
Okay.
with our current census.
Okay.
And your current census, is it 112?
That is for our day program.
Oh, that's just
Across
a-
the board right now, because we do have shared
Sure.
services between extended family home and day, we're serving approximately 150 individuals.
Interesting.
Take a moment and thank you. My daughter is someone who has been benefiting from your organization and your services. And she came in the kind of at the beginning of all that, and the services has developed around her. I want to thank you because she's striving. And a large reason I think she's striving is she is now around people that believe in her. I think when life has given you a lot of challenging situations and you just meet a lot of shut doors, it can affect your attitude and your self-perception. So I want to thank you for what you have done for my daughter and what you continue to do. And I do know Brandy, the name you've thrown out, and I thank her greatly that she is in our daughter's life. What I did want to highlight is you don't shy from the challenging situations. And from a parent point of view, we have reached out to a lot of organizations with our children, and we'll hear, oh, but we're not qualified for this child, or we're not qualified for that child, or we're not situated for this situation. What has really impressed me as a parent is that you take the child and do the work that needs to be done for the child. And instead of having a model approach and asking for all the children to fit into your model. So you really have absorbed that whole IEP mentality, unlike any other service organization that we've ever came into. So could you talk a little bit more about how you do specialize in recognizing what the individuals need and how you identify those needs and make sure that they're met?
Absolutely. And I greatly thank you for that feedback. That means a lot, especially I can sit here and say that's what we do, and I can preach that all day long, but when I do have some testimony to that our approach truly is individualized. Can I say there's a secret sauce to it? No, I can't. I can't. But what I can tell you is taking the time to assess the situation, taking the time to assess the individual prior to bringing them into our care, making sure that we have the right resources ahead of time rather than trying to figure it out after we've already agreed to take the person in. So there's a lot of meetings that occur prior to the scenario, given it depending on the situation, depending on who we're dealing with and what their care involves. But it truly is, if we're working with taking someone from a Beatrice State Developmental Center, I'll just use that as an example, there will be multiple 5-6 trips down to BSDC, few hours at a time, simply observing, simply having our team come up with a game plan. We'll send a team of 4 down there to assess the situation, people that will be working with them in a residential capacity, clinical capacity, nursing capacity, as well as extended family home capacity. I already said residential, day service capacity. So it's utilizing that team approach on our end to really understand the individual, but we also want to listen to what's happening. Listen to what really drives the individual and what it is that they want. Again, that the round peg in the square hole, I keep using that, but you can't have a canned program for people. You really have to understand what works. And believe me, we make our mistakes, and there's times that we have to backtrack and regroup and figure out, okay, what is going to be the best approach for this person, but it's continuing to work through it and not giving up on the person. Challenges are posed. Working through the challenges, those are the successes that we want to target. Do we give them that opportunity to truly achieve and excel? You know, we all take that step forward. We've all taken the 2 steps back. Well, we have to understand that because we're working with people. And that approach to the IEP concept that you mentioned with the ISPs that we utilize within the state of Nebraska for our rehabilitation programming, we just apply that concept all the way around. So it's not just with the residential service, but it's our day service. It's also, you know, we want to indoctrinate that into the behavioral health aspect too.
How many beds do you have in the residential service, or is it a different kind of model? I'm trying to get my head around how that works.
That is an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. In the extended family home model, by regulation, where it's headed with the new waivers that are going to be approved very quickly here, for CMS, you can't have any more than 2 in the extended family home model, 2 individuals. It's really meant to be a single individual living within a family environment. Single bedroom, their own space, their own home, eat dinner together. It should be a nuclear type family is what the focus is for that concept. Regulations allow up to 2 because there are situations where you have a brother and sister. You have siblings. You have two individuals that have lived together for years and it just works. Coming out of group home type situations, a lot of the group homes are scaling back in our DD community, and they're going to the extended family home model. So there's changes that are occurring with that, but you really can't have more than 2 in those type of settings.
Right, okay. So how do people sign up to be foster parents for this? What's the process there?
That's a great question as well. What we do, each agency handles it differently, I'm assuming, but what we do is we really do training classes on a monthly basis. We're doing the online trainings. We're doing the things like that we could get people to meet the regulatory requirements, right? That's great in theory. But an opportunity for us that we realized is we added a training department. So we've taken our training, went back to the old school way of doing it, live training, 40-hour course, bring people in for a pre-service workshop. We advertise through your career sites. A lot of word of mouth, to be honest with you, in this community. A lot of it is word of mouth, people wanting to provide this care. The people here that they have the opportunity to work from home, and home is their work. And you bring people in, you assess them. We go through a full-scale assessment process, from walkthroughs to meetings to interviews, to really understanding what types of behaviors or challenges are you willing to work with. What drives you, what would be the best situation? Are kids appropriate to be in the home? Whatever it may be, it goes through the assessment process. Once they've cleared and made it through the assessment process, we go to our 40-hour pre-service training. We'll put them through the training, all your state-required trainings, talk about some circumstances, apply the situations that we know that will occur in the field, and really see if people can make it through. And then they go on a waiting list. It's, the way the referral process works in the state of Nebraska, it's an open referral process through a database, TheraP. I'm not sure if folks are familiar with that. But it's an open referral process that goes to all providers. And people will reach out to you and see if you're the right fit. We encourage people to tour multiple providers. Do you want to see what is out there? What's the best fit for your loved one? So there's that whole vetting process with that on that end. So we highly encourage that as well. And we provide options. Going through the process, we have one person that's trained, ready to do this as a career. Well, it may not be the right fit for the individual. So let's offer them at least 3 to 4 options. Let's meet with 3 to 4 people, 3 to 4 homes, because we keep that bullpen going. I use that terminology because we have people that are trained and ready, because unfortunately, we do get a lot of calls for emergency placements. Things disrupt and they need a place to go. So we keep people ready and prepared for those types of situations. That way they can work into the equation and be able to serve people and not skip a beat.
Right. Are the foster parents, are they reimbursed for taking someone in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is a paid position.
Okay.
So I was curious, Bill, about, it sounded like, you're providing some educational services. Can you walk me through how that process takes place? Because I think that's fairly unique within the DD provider agency spectrum.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. As far as educational services go, we have contracts with the state for contracted services. So whether it be transitional services for the 19 to 21-year-old population, or the special education services, we really focus on the 9th grade through transition is where we feel that we can be the most effective. That's where we focus today, because we know we've had some success with that. In terms of the services and how they're provided, for us, there's a disconnect in terms of when a child is getting ready to leave the school system and enter the adult DD system, there's quite a disconnect. Parents don't know what resources are out there. Parents aren't aware of what's available for their child. What's next? That's always the question we get. We spend a lot of our time educating parents. We'll get random phone calls. But that's part of our job, is to help guide people through the system and get them in touch with the right departments, whether it be through HHS, whether it be through the schools, and we're working with a particular case. But the particular cases that we worked with, it's been cases that schools maybe have struggled, don't have the resources to put a one-to-one situation together, whereas we have that capacity. And we focus on, If it deems it, we'll put that one-to-one situation together with the guidance of our special ed certified teachers and the oversight of the IEP. The IEP typically is generated from the school district. We follow what they put in play. We're a part of the IEP team, so we continue to meet with them as a team. They're involved. They'll check in on the students. We have a lot of communication, a lot of dialogue in terms of what's happening with programming. Our programming throughout the day, we keep the data, share it with the schools. Here's how we're doing. Here's the successes. Here's maybe where we need to make some tweaks. What's great about that relationship is if we're finding something, they really do take our feedback and make adjustments to IEPs as needed. Granted, that's the whole team, that's families, that's everybody. It's not just the provider making those recommendations, but it has to be the full team approach with that.
So do you have a site that you're actually delivering educational services at?
I do.
Okay,
Two of them, actually. One in Douglas, one in Sarpy.
very good.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to kind of see what it looks like.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask that question too, so that's great. Can
Very
you,
minds.
can you share a little bit more about the camp? Where is your camp located?
Actually, I'd love to. Initially, when we first started, we were running it from one of our day service locations. We outgrew that very quickly and realized, okay, because they would report there, that was the hub for the day, and the whole focus was get them out and about, keep them busy, get them active, get them tired, send them home. Have a little fun throughout the course of the day. Again, out of necessity, we realized we needed more space. So we partnered with Omaha Home for Boys, actually. They have a pavilion up at Cooper Farm, and we take that space for the summer. We utilize it during the week. That's where our camp occurs. Report there during the day, and then all the activities, and that's the hub. People head out to their different activity of choice for the day. Usually there's at least 3 offerings for the different groups. They get to choose what they want to do, and that's really how that operates each day. And that runs from when school gets out right up until when school starts back up.
Very good.
So.
Very good. And so it's just day, so there's no overnight?
Yeah, yes, it's just days, just days. It happens between the hours of 8 and 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Another kind of, this is more of a kind of out there question, but, you know, I know that you put extra resources towards serving people with behavioral health needs that are concomitant with an intellectual or developmental disability. But we also know that another area or another group of individuals that tend to be harder to serve in the community are folks with high medical needs.
Mhm.
Have you explored that at all, or do you do that? Do you have?
Absolutely. The abilities program that I mentioned, I have 3 nurses on site,
Okay.
and we work with that particular population in terms of the more high medical needs. That's actually how we started our day services. We had 2 individuals that there really wasn't a provider that really fit their needs, and we molded it around that situation is really how it all launched at the abilities program.
Very good.
I have a question. You serve adult individuals. So how does that transition happen? So the school system provides services up through age 21, but of course, not in the summer. So if you have a child that fits into any of those categories, the abilities, the connection, or the opportunity, do the parents reach out to you one-on-one? Is that what they do? Do the schools help identify that and list you as a summer service option? How can parents and families connect with you?
That is an excellent question because we actually deal with all referral sources in terms of that because it's 2 separate populations that we're working with. We don't mix the children with the adults. It has to be completely separate. As far as referral sources go, initially if we have an individual, a child, if they've entered our extended family home program through Children and Family Services, it's because there was a higher level of need that was required. It wasn't just your average foster care situation, higher level of need, higher level of training. That's why they're with us. So that's one source of referral, working with that particular population within. Also, if a child is DD approved, DD funded, there's community inclusion hours that can be utilized for that to get people out in the community during the day. It's being creative and getting them out there. They can't go to a congregate setting, can't be an agency-owned setting in terms of providing that community inclusion service because just by what it is, the whole point is to get out and about. It's to get out in the community and interact and engage. So there's that DD population. Then we also have private pay situations as well. where we do have some school districts, they also refer once they found out we had a summer camp program. It grew very quickly, but we're also not going to let it grow much bigger than what it is, because based on the space, based on our resources, that's where we are today. We did cap numbers this year at that, again, I think it's at 33 today, based on resources. So there really is multiple referral options. They can directly contact us. A lot of different, the schools that we work with, I can't say a lot of different, the schools that we work with directly, as well as Health and Human Services, DD Division, as well as Children and Family Services, all know that we have the summer camp as an option. And usually in about January, we'll start sending information out about the camp, where it's going to be held, activities that will occur, and just letting people know. We put them through a registration process so we can screen and make sure that we're getting all the details and the information to make sure it's a good fit based on putting the kids together in that camp setting.
And so milestones.
Yes.
So that's for the summer. So if you have an individual that's over 21, and would you then be a resource to look at the day program for Monday through Friday?
Absolutely. Milestones, and let me backtrack because I threw a bunch of acronyms at you and don't have them in front of you, unfortunately. Milestones is all of our day services. That's the name, the divisions that I mentioned within the Milestones concept. Because we started as Prime Home Developmental Disability Services. Well, when I hear that, I think of like a roofing contractor or something like that. We need to work on our branding a little bit. But, you know, based on the fact that we've grown with our day services, the Milestones concept, that definition really fit us. So yes, the Milestones program is the option for people 21 and over. Camp Milestones is for the children in the camp setting.
Thank you.
I was just trying to think about some of the older folks that you serve. Do you have some folks who are living with their parents and then their parents kind of get old and not able to look after them? Is that a scenario that people enter the system?
Absolutely. Many of those particular cases, there's a waiting list for residential funding in the state of Nebraska. I believe to date there's around 2,100 individuals waiting to get residential services in the state of Nebraska. Don't quote me on that number, but I think it's fairly accurate.
I've got the number.
Okay. 2148 maybe?
2,300.
Okay. All right. You have better data than I do.
7-year waiting period is what we were told for our children on the DD waiver.
Well, and that's anytime we encounter, and when I talked about a little bit earlier, not to get away from your question, but when I talked a little bit earlier about educating families, and when we get phone calls, and, you know, we're offered this residential funding, great, accept it. Accept that funding, because if you don't, and you decide not to take it at that point in time when it's offered, when your date of need arises, you go back to the bottom of the waiting list. You won't see that again for another 10 years, you know, depending on what the situation and the circumstances are. There's priority funding for emergency cases, but, you know, that's a crucial piece. We also do, I didn't mention this, we provide services for folks on the A&D waiver in our day service settings. There's definitely a need for that. And to your point, individuals that live at home, maybe families are getting a little bit older. Previously, they've been maybe under the A&D type funding where they can get compensated for the supports. Well, they need additional resources, so they send them to us during the day. We provide that day service. We can provide the transportation to get them to and from. So that's another funding stream that we decided to work with based on need.
Probably should say that A&D is the aging and disability waiver, which is
Thank you.
separate from the developmental disabilities comprehensive waiver that
Yep.
I think you've been referencing before.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, because again, I talk in acronyms.
Not at all.
And transportation for your Milestones program, do you enable an opportunity to provide transportation to get them to that, or would that be the care provider's responsibility?
Boy, you just asked me a loaded question, but I will go ahead and answer that question. Historically, day service providers were compensated to provide the transportation to get people to and from their whether it be their habilitative workshop, whether it be something in the community work related, or just their day service. With the changes in the waiver, that is in the rate of the residential provider. The funding has shifted a little bit, so the paradigm has shifted. So transportation is the responsibility of the residential provider if the individual has a residential provider. What we have decided to do is truly we are just going to provide that transportation. If they're in our residential programming, our day services, we are going to provide that transportation because it can be a very big challenge for folks that have to work. Families have to work, whatever the situation and the circumstances are. That's part of what you get compensated for in your residential services. We, as an agency, just thought better it's going to be a day service provision that we offer.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
What are the age groups that go to the camp? Do you have your lower and upper age?
Yeah, we're at about, I believe our youngest is 14 at camp this summer.
Okay.
The oldest is 18, but then we break them out into the appropriate age groups when they're at the camp and when they're doing the activities. So I think we're ranging between that 14 to 18 mark.
Okay. What kind of sports and activities do you guys do?
If I went on my Facebook page, I could probably show you. Fishing, bowling. They do the occasional movie from time to time to get out of the elements. We have to be very cognizant of that. Sporting events, arts and crafts, museums. We have the membership to the Henry Dorley Zoo.
Okay.
There's just different community options that we have available to us, but as well as using the facility that we're running the camp from.
Sure.
We have a great sports field. We have a nice cookout pavilion, so we'll do a cookout once a week where we bring everybody together. We'll invite other folks up. So it's really just a good feel and a good location for us to run that from. But you name it, we do the activities in terms of getting people out. And it's really based on interest of the individual. We really want their feedback. What would you guys like to see happen?
Sure.
Within reason.
Yeah.
Within reason.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm always interested in that because that's what I do for a living is the adaptive sports. So I'm always interested to see what sports you guys do.
Excellent. Yeah, we're YMCA memberships, different clubs. We do that on a weekly basis, multiple times a week. Healthy living is obviously one of our big programs that we run for folks, not just for the kids, but for the adults as well.
Okay, how far do people travel for the activities? Do you just try and stay in the Omaha area?
We'll go to Lincoln to do the tours at Memorial Stadium. Within reason, yeah, I'd say it's really the Omaha Metro.
Okay.
But, just depends on what the activity is and what's available.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
I was going to just ask quickly, so it sounds like you're predominantly funded through Medicaid waiver funding. Are you solely funded that way, or are there other state dollars coming in?
Primarily, we are Medicaid funded. With the services that we provide through CFS, those are different dollars, not the DD waiver funding. But primarily, I would say 85% of what we do is Medicaid waiver funded.
Well, as I heard you talk about trying to prepare your service models to come under compliance of the final settings rule whenever that happens.
Yeah.
I wondered because it seems like some providers are requiring folks to take waiver funding if at all available, and that's a positive in terms of it allowing more folks to be served, but there's limitations too. So,
Yeah.
just curious about that. Sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was just going to ask, do you have a need for community organizations or businesses to partner with you that enable some of your clients to come in and engage with the community? Is that a need that you have?
That is a wonderful question. We are always looking for community partners that are willing to come in and engage with our folks. Granted, we go out a lot and do that, but it would be great to have agencies, organizations, whoever it may be, interested community members, as long as it fit what we are doing, to partner with us. Because it's truly about those relationships and the meaningful experiences. If we're doing that, we're doing our jobs. So the more that we can get people ingrained in the community, whatever that looks like, with different organizations, we would welcome that.
I've got an idea for you, so I'll come and grab you afterwards.
Love it. Love it.
I have one final question for you, Bill, and then we'll let you off the hook. Basically what you've described is your program in terms of, but there are numerous programs. You're one of about how many programs like you in the Omaha metro area?
In the Omaha metro?
Yeah.
I would say right around, I think the number's right around 20.
Okay.
20 different service providers in the area.
Mm-hmm. Some bigger, some smaller
Correct.
than yours.
Correct.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, unless there are other questions, I want to thank you for coming and presenting, and that was very interesting, and I think you have a really thoughtful approach to the work that you're doing, and so I wish you the best, and this is great. The one thing especially, I think, as you were describing your services, I just kept hearing very nice descriptions of some of the positive components of what are available through community programs to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So that's a lot. You've got a lot going on. So
We do.
I appreciate your time today very much.
Well, likewise, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we do, and I really appreciate the time and effort that this group gives. Obviously, there's vested interest in this particular community, and we appreciate the service as well. So if there's anything we can do in the future to assist, we are here to help, and I want families to know that as well. Even if it's just navigating the process, let us know how we can help. So.
Of how individuals could contact you, your website or your phone
Yes,
number?
absolutely. Our website is www.primehomedds.com, and our phone number is 402-932-0072. So, and if anybody needed anything from me directly, all of our contact information is on the website. We are in the process of updating our website to catch up with some of the programming options that we've offered and added. So, go to the website and contact us there. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Very interesting stuff. Okay, we had, moving on to the next part of the meeting, we had somebody wanted to address the commission regarding some accessibility concerns.
Yeah, thank you. Gerald Kuhn, Assistant Director of Human Rights and Relations. I have a special guest today, Ms. Michelle Thornhill, who represents a member of the disabled community in Omaha. And she just wanted to come today to this commission and give kind of a testimony on her view on accessibility in Omaha.
Very good, please. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this and for letting me speak, and thank you, Gerald. Like a lot of people with disabilities, I'm sorry I'm short, and if I was using my wheelchair today, I'd probably be even shorter. Can you see me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Like a lot of people with disabilities, self-employment was my path to employment. I have an online marketing company, Little Mountain Web Design, and I'm happy and proud to be in downtown Omaha. I really enjoy being part of the city, and I enjoy getting out. Part of my job is to take photographs, and there can be nothing more fun than some of the events that you get to attend to take photographs and then blog about later. There are some issues with accessibilities and some really great things too as well. With this city, there are an amazing amount of curb cuts, and I'm so happy to have those, especially when I'm using the wheelchair. In order to manage the distances or to take pictures now, it's really important that I use the wheelchair and the gear on the wheelchair as well. When I was going from Santa Lucia to the Arts Festival, I noticed that there were a lot of curb cuts that were cut out to be replaced later. And that's wonderful because pothole season just doesn't affect cars. It affects people with wheelchairs, mobility impairments, and people with strollers and children. But some of those, the cells, the ones with the dots, those were cut out, but there weren't cones put in place. And that made it very difficult to navigate. So that day I wasn't able to take pictures to go from one event to the next event in the wheelchair. I had to do it on a separate day. My office is across from the Leahy Mall, and there aren't any in that area getting van parking on the street. There's only a few spots, and those are near the state office where you have Voc Rehab and other agencies like that. So there's a lot of people needing and wanting those spots as well. And I would like to see more of those across the city, and steps where steps can be ramped in Old Market so that I can enjoy and purchase from other people and businesses in the area. I've spoke to some businesses there, and they would like very much to have little ramps that wouldn't affect the architecture at all. But they were told by the city that it would take away from the architectural style to have one or two steps ramped. And I'm not sure that's actually the case, because putting in a ramp there doesn't even necessarily have to alter that there are one or two stairs there. And the stairs don't seem to be a feature of the building, and I know that can be debated. Sometimes you have a building that has a designated number of steps for a certain reason, and it's historical. I mean, that makes some sense. But here in the old market, there'd be a lot more people with strollers being able to just easily shop and go about their business. Also, the front of this building, I understand people have tried over time to get it to be made accessible. And while it's great, there's signage there. This sign telling you that the area is flat. I can't get into the building without help, whether I'm in my wheelchair or whether I'm on crutches. An electric door button on the Farnham side, or as some people have been tossing around, having the revolving door become a sliding door would help a lot of people with that, and I think it would also help with some of the flow that goes in. I have been previously told that I'm supposed to ask security for help getting in, but that takes away from the need and the function of security. I'm also told, depending on who I speak to, that can't be done. I went at one point all the way to Paul Cohen about the building and the accessibility, and then he said he fixed it, and all he did was slow down the revolving door that I still couldn't use. There was a security guard at one point who showed me how easy it was to use the revolving door, and at the end of it, it hit him rather hard in the rump, and I can't afford falling anymore. So it was kind of a dramatic way of demonstrating that there are issues with the revolving door for people with crutches or wheelchairs, and of course, moms and kids. So I would love to see the Farnham side made accessible so that we can open the doors and get in and out all by ourselves without help.
Questions?
I was going to say, have you talked to the city planning department?
Yes,
Okay.
at some point I did.
Okay.
They didn't tell me this, but I'd have to check. This was a while ago. Somebody, staff in the city, told me it was okay because the city was renting, that this building did not need to be accessible. So there's some serious education that needs to be done with staff, especially people on the hotlines, that are sort of your front, your public-facing front line with a person who's having an issue, most likely someone who's not calling to praise the city but has an issue. I think more education needs to be done there.
Well, we appreciate you bringing this to our attention.
And we will,
Yeah.
Takes a lot of courage to come, and especially come on air and do this, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
and we will take it forward.
Okay,
Take-
thank you very much.
We've been writing notes.
Okay, and I'd be happy to help you in, whatever capacity I can. And I don't know if people would be interested in this, but I think it'd be fun to take a field trip in a wheelchair and just kind of go around and see what it's like. Building inspectors, city people, there's ADA, and then there's usability, and then there's feeling it. I had a lot of friends in wheelchairs before, but until I knew the doors were a barrier, but when you're shut out of doing things, when it's your choice of how you have to live every day, where you're going to go, where you're going to make your purchases, it hits home in a different way.
Absolutely.
I think it might be interesting for us to try that getting into this building.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking to myself, on my way out, I'll take a look at it, but, maybe we could do that as a group, right? I don't know if there's
Great.
parts of your department that would enjoy that as training, but it might just be really like quite eye-opening, and then we'll experience it, right?
Thank you.
So let's maybe chat about that. That could be quite a fun, informative exercise.
And I have a question for you later.
Sure.
There's a sport I'd like to play.
Oh, okay, yeah, you betcha.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for that very much. We're really starting to run short on time. I'll just throw it open just for a minute if anybody has any pressing issue that they want to make sure that our viewing audience hears about.
No, I have nothing.
I don't have anything.
No, thank you.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you to our viewers and thank you to our presenters. We will not be having a meeting in July. We will be back in August. The date escapes me, but I'm hoping somebody pulls the calendar out really fast. And I can share that with the audience.
It'll be Monday, August 26th.
Thanks very much,
Sure.
Natalie. Yeah, we had planned on possibly a meeting in July, but we found that there were a lot of people that weren't available due to something called a vacation. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting and thank everybody, and y'all have a great next couple of months.